This is an absolute heist for the Los Angeles Lakers, as an insider has dropped a very big report surrounding Rob Pelinka and one particular player. We're going to break down exactly what that report is and discuss, of course, what it means going forward, as well as a few other interesting Lakers updates, including one you're going to want to stay tuned till the end for, folks. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here, folks. A lot to go over today, and an interesting new report is dropped. Now, obviously, the Lakers are getting closer and closer, and rather every team is getting closer and closer to the start of the regular season. Moves are still possible, but a new interesting report is dropping. And see this here, this tweet kind of gained some traction, so I had to cover it for you all. See here from here of the day. Wow, Yahoo Sports is reporting that the Lakers might be looking to trade for PJ Washington, as he's Luka Doncic's preferred lob partner. Now, we've been covering on the channel for a while guys like PJ Washington, and just kind of how it would make a ton of sense for both sides, but especially the Lakers in a fit where, of course, Luka Doncic played alongside PJ for a couple of years. Obviously, they acquired him, the Mavericks, at the trade deadline there. But let's dive into the full article. So, a key to maximizing Luka Doncic's playstyle is pairing him with a reliable lob threat, a big man who can finish at the rim off his signature drives and passes. While there are options on the roster, Doncic's preferred lob partner is reportedly PJ Washington. The Lakers aren't currently in a financial position to trade for him, but a long contract extension could create flexibility. And that's where things have started to get quite interesting, folks, for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, we've covered it in the past plenty of times. Obviously, PJ Washington is a good fit for this team. He's developed as a defender really well since coming over to Dallas from Charlotte, and ever since then has been a very, very solid to really good player. And reports are that he is indeed interested in coming to LA, but most importantly, that the Lakers and Luka Doncic views him as the best fit, and that's obviously one of the most important things here. And Mark Stein reported recently that the Mavericks are expected to sign PJ Washington to an extension, likely in the realm of 4 years and $90 million. And then perhaps Dallas views Knecht in a bright enough light that they'd be willing to take on Vincent's expiring contract to bring him aboard. It's also possible that they're interested in acquiring Vanderbilt and utilizing his defensive versatility to his advantage. So that's a report from Mark Stein, obviously, which is also intriguing because at the end of the day, folks, it's and Mark Stein, of course, reported that the Mavericks are going to look to extend him. The only way that this kind of makes a ton of sense anyway is, again, if an extension is in place, which creates more flexibility. Because as it currently stands, the Lakers, they don't have a ton of room to trade for too many players. Now they have a ton of expiring contracts, but of course a trade has to line up with both sides, specifically regarding the value. Now, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the Mavericks, what would you want from the Lakers for PJ Washington? Dalton Knecht, sure, salary filler. Remember that be Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, bringing him back. But you'd probably also want a first-round pick. And that's where I'm very curious to see what you guys think about it. Because would you give up, and again, it's been the same trade package for months now. Knecht, first-round pick, maybe swaps in there, not necessarily for this trade, but for any trade that happens. Because you can see there in the third paragraph, really second paragraph, acquiring Doncic's go-to lob threat would be a huge move for the Lakers and would signal an all-in commitment to their new franchise star. While several pieces would need to fall into place, the outcome could dramatically reshape the future of LA. And again, the biggest part of this here is that the report that Doncic's preferred partner is PJ Washington, which makes a lot of sense. And we saw at the trade deadline last year, Doncic basically went to Rob Pelinka and they went on a bunch of lists of players and options for centers to acquire at the deadline. They went out and they did it, right? They got Mark Williams. Ultimately, the trade was rescinded. But I think now, if you're the Lakers and you can go out and you can get a guy like PJ Washington, for example, it would make a ton of sense. And again, the Lakers recently extended Luka, $165 million in 3 years, and while Doncic's contract is under contract for at least the next 3 seasons, they're expected to stay aggressive in building around him. And of course, as we all know, Doncic has made it clear in multiple recent reports beyond that he wants to win now, and that's where it makes sense. Now, there's also been some reports that they aren't looking to trade off some of the guys like Maxi Kleber, like Gabe Vincent. I'll have a video coming on that either later tonight or tomorrow. So there is some conflicting reports on that front, but if you're the Lakers and this becomes an option now, whether that's an option for the rest of this season or rest of this offseason, rather, whether that's an option into potentially even the trade deadline, that's where things become super intriguing, especially for me, where I'm thinking, okay, PJ Washington, a very, very good player. You look at his stats last year with Dallas Mavericks, 14.7 points a game, shooting 38% from three with some pretty good defensive numbers, block and a steal. And of course, he wasn't known as a defensive-minded player when he was in Charlotte, but he slowly developed alongside Luka. They obviously made the finals together in 2023, 2024, before, of course, Nico Harrison shipped off Luka to LA. And you can see this here, a couple of reasons from a different article. Lakers can make a stronger offer for PJ Washington after extension. It's easy to plug in names and numbers into a trade machine. Of course, Dalton Knecht is kind of the main one now. However, if ultimately, if PJ Washington gets an extension, then you can make an offer that makes more sense because he's a part of the long-term piece. He's also a part of helps with the salary cap, at least understanding it and making sense there. And it would resolve from a Lakers standpoint. He can be really good in the pick and roll. He can be great in the pick and pop. He's a pretty, underrated passer as well. And I watched some, film. We've all kind of seen him with the Dallas Mavericks. You've probably seen when they traded for Luka Doncic at last year's trade deadline. Like if you looked up Luka Doncic's highlights, and we all know how good Luka is, PJ Washington's in a lot of them, whether it be on the receiving end of great passes from Doncic, whether it just be spotting up in the corner. Like he is a perfect 3-and-D big man, obviously a bit of a small ball four, but makes a lot of sense. Now, looking at how the team is currently constructed, you have Luka, Reaves, Rui, LeBron, Ayton. Of course, how would PJ Washington fill in? Would he fill in, Rui's spot? Would Rui go to the bench? Would they run some weird lineups? At this point, we don't really know what JJ Redick is thinking surrounding the exact starting lineup. I'm of the mindset of getting Smart in there one way or another into the starting lineup to provide some defensive identity, whether that's in replacement of Rui Hachimura, which seems most likely, or what I want, of course, again, is Austin Reaves, and move Reaves to the bench and let him run the bench unit and hopefully, still play 30, 35 minutes a game, but really come off of the bench. And then, of course, blend yourself back into the starter role, which gives you, of course, throughout the game, some more depth offensively off of the bench there. But you get a guy like PJ Washington, I mean, you're set, right? And if you have to give up Dalton Knecht in a first, you're taking out nothing from your current existing team because Knecht didn't really do much last year. He didn't really do much, I guess he didn't do much beyond what we expected from him. Like he did really, really good at the start, and then he really started to settle down a little bit there, which was a little bit disappointing, especially after seeing the summer league. But again, he exceeded expectations to start, and then of course started to temper off a little bit. I don't expect too much from him next year. I obviously could be proved wrong, but let me know down below what your thoughts are on all of that. Things are really starting to get interesting with the season just around the corner, folks. We're now just a couple months, a month and a bit away from really preseason things starting to pick up there. But one thing I do want to talk about regarding the season is this. Now, an article dropped today saying Luka Doncic MVP, Lakers star is not NBA insiders' top choice to win the award. Now, I don't really care about what other NBA insiders think of the MVP. I want to see your guys' thoughts. Do you think that Luka Doncic is going to have a MVP type season? You can see this here. Either voter fatigue wears off quickly, or voters are very impressed by Nikola Jokic's head-to-head battle with Shea in the second round of the playoffs. The three-time MVP came in as the heavy favorite to win for the fourth time in our preseason survey, almost doubling the votes for SGA to compete. Voters also deemed to be impressed by Luka Doncic's offseason transformation, as the version of Luka Doncic that we have now came in second in early voting. So pretty good, right? And obviously they have, the headline is that, not top choice. Kind of makes sense to have Shea or Nikola Jokic. I think Jokic is probably the favorite at this moment, but I could see a real world here, especially if Luka, leads the team to a deep playoff run, but especially just regular season success, because that's what the vote is based off of. Things could be very, very interesting. But that'll wrap it up. You guys have been an absolute beast with the support. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Cheers.